I am Karen, a single woman working at a chemical company in the countryside. When people hear chemical, they are often surprised that I am a woman. However, I have been good at chemistry since I was young and even got a hazardous materials license in high school. I love my current job and continue to enjoy it. I was born and bred in this small rural town. In the past, the only place to go was the candy store, but recently there have been many changes, such as the construction of a new airport and a tall apartment building in front of the station. And, I don't know if it's specific to rural areas or unique to this town, but since long ago, there have been many delinquent youths resembling biker gangs here. Even now, sometimes you can hear the sound of police cars chasing them late at night. Though they're called youths, it seems lately there are many university students among them. At one time, I went out drinking with colleagues and ended up walking alone on the streets around 2 a.m. Since it was a weekday night, there were few people around, so any noise echoed loudly. Yes, for example, the sound of dozens of motorcycles. After a while, a group of motorcycles stopped ahead and were doing something dangerous. Because I've always had a strong sense of justice, I instinctively intervened. As a result, I became a target along with my family by a young man who held a grudge against me, and the situation took an unexpected turn. The men from the motorcycle group are talking to a man standing at a taxi stand several tens of meters ahead of me. It's clear they're not asking for directions, and seeing the fear on the man's face, I couldn't stand by anymore. I put my phone, which I had been using, back into my pocket and approached the motorcycle group. "What are you guys doing?" At the sound of my voice, the men all turned around simultaneously. They appeared to be adults, definitely over 18 years old, and I quickly understood they were probably university students in their early 20s, grouped together as a team. The momentary distraction caused by my call allowed the man to run away. Then, one man glared at me as if he had lost his prey. Probably the leader among them, he scanned me from head to toe as if sizing me up.
"You, woman, don't stick your nose into this."
He spat out those words. The other men around him smirked and chuckled. For a moment, I felt in danger, but then suddenly the sirens of a police car blared. I'm not that foolish. As soon as I realized the man was being extorted, I immediately called the police and kept the call connected. After a brief questioning, I was released. I probably should have waited for the police to arrive, but the man had his bag snatched and was being searched through, so I couldn't just leave him alone. Of course, the police assured me they would recover the bag and contact the owner, which was a relief. The motorcycle group, especially the leader, looked at me with a resentful expression. I hoped that this incident would make them reconsider their actions and stop. Some time had passed, and I was sleeping at my parents' house when I woke up to a loud noise. It was the sound of something breaking and the laughter of several men. I quickly went outside and, as expected, saw about 4 young men laughing uproariously as they ran away. They had broken the window glass in the bathroom. Our family home is quite old, and perhaps due to its aging condition, the window was easily broken. Fortunately, since it happened late at night, no one was injured, and my parents were sleeping safely in their bedroom away from the bathroom. I felt relieved, but at the same time, memories of that motorcycle group from earlier came to mind. Until now, we've never experienced such harassment, and my parents aren't the type to provoke anyone's grudge. So, it seems the perpetrators targeted me specifically. If they had targeted me personally, it would be a different story, but my parents have nothing to do with it. While feeling frustrated about this, I decided to call the police and have them come to inspect the scene. The next day, a contractor came and managed to repair the damage, but the repair costs were quite high, which made me sigh. And then, the following night, I had anticipated they might come back, but it happened sooner than expected. This time, instead of breaking into the house, they were trying to enter the fields behind my parents' house. I could see the fields directly from my room, so I spotted the men. Bastards. I muttered to myself and headed to the fields. On the way there,
Oh crap.
the startled voices of the men echoed. When I got to the field, I found one man lying on the ground twitching, while his mates looked bewildered and didn't know what to do. He's been electrocuted. Are you okay? Seeing him collapse, I became concerned and shouted loudly.
Oh shit.
The other men abandoned their electrocuted friend and fled in a panic. The man lying on the ground had fainted. His eyes rolled back. Clearly, this was the result of his attempt to trespass into the field. So, I had no choice but to wait for the police to arrive. When the police and ambulance arrived, the man was taken to the hospital for treatment. While being questioned late at night, we received a report from another officer who accompanied the man to the hospital, saying he had regained consciousness. According to the officer, the man harbored a grudge because I had called the police on him previously, resulting in him being taken into custody and suspended from university for 2 weeks. The man himself had a motorcycle license, but some of his companions did not, and others were driving under the influence of alcohol. Because of these issues, he was suspended and, during his suspension, he investigated me, and even followed me on my way home from work. He confessed that upon discovering my parents grow high-end fruits in their field, he broke the window glass and attempted to steal the fruits to teach me a lesson. I sighed in disbelief at the absurd reason but never expected to be followed on my way home from work. Our nearest station only has a few people getting off in the evening, and there's only one entrance. So, if he ambushed and watched people coming out, he could immediately find me. I couldn't believe he would go to such lengths out of spite after facing consequences for his own wrongdoing. However, a few days after the incident, the man showed up at my house with his parents in tow. I expected him to apologize for breaking the window glass and trespassing, but instead, he made a shocking demand. Without any warning, the doorbell rang at my house. When I answered, I saw the leader from that incident standing there with his parents, all looking fierce. Confused about what was happening, the parents said,
"You electrocuted our son. That's assault. We're demanding compensation."
They caused a commotion. Huh? Wait, don't you know anything about what happened? Upon saying that, the parents briefly showed a puzzled expression. However, they immediately blamed me and the situation returned to how it was. Taken aback, I looked at the man. He laughed through his nose and sneered at me, sticking his tongue out. Apparently, when questioned by his parents about the suspension and the police contacting them,
I was called a thief and pushed to an electric fence when I just wanted to buy fruits. Before that, I was just riding with friends, but we were called a motorcycle gang and reported to the police.
He explained with nonsense. If I were his parent, I would realize it's odd to be suspended for 2 weeks, by being reported mistakenly. However, these parents, who clearly favor their son, seem to blindly believe his story. They've already hired a lawyer and are demanding an absurd $30,000 in compensation. The figure lacks any rational basis, and it's even questionable whether they've actually hired a lawyer. As I frowned and glared at the mother and son, the mother unexpectedly slapped me.
If you don't pay, we'll take you to court. Just so you know, my grandfather is a well-known politician, and people like you from the countryside can be dealt with in an instant.
She smirked proudly. My family and I should be the victim in this case. Why are we subjected to such mistreatment? There's a saying, like father, like son, which perfectly describes this parent and child. Perhaps, the parents had no common sense, so the child became like them. Let's strike a hard blow to this family, who boast rudely by taking advantage of the power of their politician grandfather. Well, prepare yourself. I won't hold back anymore. Rubbing my slapped cheek, I said, "Wow, this is quite swollen, isn't it? Isn't this assault?"
Ha. I was just giving back the pain my son received, that's all.
The mother retorted angrily with her face turned red. I don't see how it's fair that I should suffer the consequences of your son's actions when he got caught on that fence to begin with. Just so you know, it's your son's fault for getting caught on that fence, and he was trying to break into the fields to steal fruits. So why should I be the one to be blamed here? I said so. But, the parents still believed their son. Especially the mother. She refused to listen to anything I said. So, I invited them into the house to show them something. What I had to show them was footage from the time of the incident. The reason I had such footage is because my parents' house actually has many security cameras installed. My parents grow high-quality fruits for a living. Our fields were vandalized by thieves in the past, so we installed security cameras around the house and in the fields, as well as electric fences. I explained while showing them the footage of the day when those men attempted to trespass into our fields. Upon seeing the footage, even the parents couldn't deny the truth and got frozen. The man's expressions grew increasingly stern. Ignoring them, I showed them the footage from a few days before that day. This footage is from when we had a window in our bathroom broken. It's just a few days before your son got electrocuted, isn't it? Look, your son's face is clearly captured in the video. We were planning to claim the repair costs for this incident as well, so I'm glad you visited us here. I said with a sarcastic tone and chuckled, and then his parents started trembling. I thought they would finally realize their son's wrongdoing and scold him, but it didn't happen.
Carrying such a strong current that can make people pass out is attempted murder.
Then the son, who had been silent until then, chimed in.
Yeah. It hurt like hell. If I hadn't been taken to the hospital, I might have died right there,
he said dramatically. Upon seeing this, his parents hugged him tightly. Leader's mother, you must have been scared. They comforted him with these words. I was thinking about what rubbish sketch I was witnessing. That fence is merely for keeping animals away. Even if it carries current, it just crackles a bit loudly and it's not strong enough to cause a human to faint. As I calmly explained this, they got frozen. Actually, the doctor who examined him mentioned that he likely fainted due to the shock of the electricity, causing his brain to create a false sense that he got a high-voltage electricity. After being taken to the hospital, he didn't require significant treatment and woke up on his own. We have the statement from police interrogation, medical examination, and testimony from the contractor who installed the fence. It has been verified how much current flows through it. It has been determined that there is no harm to the human body, and no fault has been found on our side. Upon hearing this, they fell silent, seemingly having no words left to respond. Still, the mother persisted.
You're immature against a university student. It's worse to report just because they were riding bikes.
She continued to make excuses and resist. Regarding the bike incident, I told them about the noise disturbance, the presence of unlicensed and drunk drivers among his friends. His delinquency is the fault of you, parents who encourage it, isn't it? Upon saying that, they fell completely silent, not uttering a single word thereafter. Afterwards, I told them I'd contacted them through a lawyer to demand compensation for breaking a window, and I let them go home. I thought everything was settled, but the man perhaps reached his breaking point and took drastic action. A few days after their visit, an incident occurred. On that day, I was taking a weekday off as a compensatory holiday and relaxing at home. Suddenly, there was a commotion outside. I heard my parents shouting in panic and a man's angry voice that sounded familiar. I headed to the field, having a bad feeling, only to see that man laughing uproariously while spreading some liquid in the field. The field was in chaos, and all the fruits that were about to be harvested were ruined. My parents, who were just about to start working, had found the man trespassing and destroying the field in broad daylight, and they were telling him to stop. Even from a distance, I was shocked by the devastating scene. I couldn't tell what liquid the man was spreading, and an unknown fear gripped me. If it was gasoline, it could lead to an unavoidable disaster, and there was even a risk of the fire spreading to nearby homes. "Hey, what are you doing?" I shouted, and the man turned around and said with a creepy smile on his face,
"I'm going to burn it all down. If the field is burned, you can't do anything, right?"
Then he pulled out a lighter. My parents let out cries that sounded almost like screams, but I noticed something when I smelled the liquid. Without that distinctive odor, the likelihood of it being gasoline or kerosene was low. I looked at the discarded can that likely contained the liquid. And then, I realized. If you want to burn it all down, why don't you do it? My outrageous statement shocked my parents as well. However, seeing that I remained composed and considering my profession, they didn't say anything. He seemed to regard my words as a final act of resistance, and attempted to ignite it, but it failed to catch fire. Unable to understand why it didn't work, the man looked bewildered. So, I, who works at a chemical company, explained it to him. "I bet that you bought the oil at the supermarket, right? Vegetable oil has a flash point around 250 degrees Celsius, so it's not that easy to ignite." Upon hearing this, the man looked even more puzzled. At that moment, the police, likely already called by my parents, arrived and promptly apprehended the man. He had resisted violently, resulting in his arrest for obstructing official duties. And then the man asked,
"How did you know it wouldn't burn?"
So I replied, "It's because that's my profession. Most people would think it would catch fire, but not me." With that, he looked frustrated as he was taken away to the police station. Afterwards, the man was charged with property damage. Due to the severity of the incident and the fact that it was a repeat offense despite previous warnings, he got convicted with a suspended sentence and was also expelled from his university. Moreover, if it's just compensating for broken window glass, it wouldn't cost much. However, if it's about damaging our field, it's a different story. It included the costs of restoring the field and compensating for the ruined fruits. Also, the covering of the damages for failing to deliver to the stores we had contracts with was added up. The total costs far exceed the arbitrary amount of $30,000 that the man's parents proposed to me. When my lawyer showed them the legal documents detailing the damages and compensation, those parents were reportedly shocked and taken aback. After being expelled from university and returning home, the man apparently worked tirelessly day and night to repay the damages his parents had covered. Besides, his politician grandfather decided to sever ties with that family, considering his own dignity. Their relationship was probably superficial. As for me, I have been living in relief and enjoying the peace I finally got back. Since then, I've noticed fewer sightings of motorcycle gangs, which has made life more peaceful. I didn't have any hobbies, so my only enjoyment was going out drinking. When I attended a gathering organized by my friends, I met the love of my life. After dating for 2 years, we got married. I don't have any knowledge of growing fruits, but it turns out his family runs a farm. Being the second son and not planning to inherit the family farm anyway, he agreed to live with my family. My parents are delighted to have a successor son-in-law. Now that the field has been restored, I'd like to support my family business from now on.